Hey guys, it's Ellen Brock, novel editor. Today I'm going to talk about character descriptions. A lot of writers struggle with character descriptions. It can be difficult to find a place to describe the character that feels seamless and doesn't feel like you're hitting the pause button just to dump a bunch of information on the reader. So today I'm going to go over an easy technique you can use to both describe the physical appearance as well as the personality of your characters in a way that feels seamless and well integrated into the scene. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling is a great example of integrating character descriptions into what's going on in the scene. We talked about last week how J.K. Rowling uses clues to keep the reader engaged during the setup. So this is another way that she helps to keep the reader engaged. Instead of hitting the pause button and listing out personality traits or listing out physical attributes, she uses what's happening in the scene as the springboard for the descriptions. So notice how our first description of Harry focuses not only on what he looks like, but also on the scene itself, which is Dudley's birthday, how Dudley is spoiled, and how Harry is mistreated by his aunt and uncle. Perhaps it had something to do with living in a dark cupboard, but Harry had always been small and skinny for his age. He looked even smaller and skinnier than he really was, because all he had to wear were old clothes of Dudley's, and Dudley was about 4 times bigger than he was. Harry had a thin face, knobbly knees, black hair, and bright green eyes. He wore round glasses held together by a lot of sellotape because of all the time Dudley had punched him on the nose. Notice how Rowling doesn't stray from the purpose of the scene. This scene is intended to demonstrate Harry's mistreatment, which is his status quo, and it helps to establish his emotional problems and the challenges that he's dealing with. And instead of just listing out traits in the middle of this scene, she integrates all of his physical traits into his mistreatment. He's thin because he lives under the stairs, and he looks even thinner because he wears hand-me-down clothes, and he has sellotape on his glasses because Dudley punches him in the nose. All of these things keep us focused on what the intention of the scene is, rather than straying from the purpose of the scene just to list out a bunch of traits. A few paragraphs later, Dudley's description also feels well integrated into the scene. It demonstrates Aunt Petunia's delusional feelings towards Dudley, as well as Harry's dislike of him. Dudley looked a lot like Uncle Vernon. He had a large pink face, not much neck, small watery blue eyes, and thick blonde hair that lay smoothly on his thick fat head. Aunt Petunia often said that Dudley looked like a baby angel. Harry often said that Dudley looked like a pig in a wig. This seamless integration of character traits works well not just with physical traits, but also with personality traits. Let's look at another example from Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill. In this novel, the protagonist Judas goes into his assistant Danny's office to turn off the radio that was left on, and he notices that the radio station playing in his assistant's office is one that plays his own music. And notice how seamlessly this scene transitions from describing him turning off the radio to describing his assistant Danny. They were known to play Jude's music more or less constantly, which was why Danny kept the stereo tuned to them, as an act of both loyalty and flattery. In truth, Jude suspected that Danny had no particular musical preferences, no strong likes or dislikes, and that the radio was just background sound, the auditory equivalent of wallpaper. If he had worked for Enya, Danny would have happily hummed along to Celtic chanting while answering her emails and sending faxes. This description of Danny flows so seamlessly from the action of the scene that it's not noticeable at all that there's a transition from action to description. This method of integrating the character descriptions into the scene works well even when used multiple times in the same scene. In Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred D. Taylor, all 3 of the protagonist brothers are described in the same scene, and it's all well integrated into the action. The scene starts with the main character Cassie being concerned that they're going to be late for school because her little brother, nicknamed Little Man, is walking too slowly. He lagged several feet behind my brothers Stacy and Christopher John and me, attempting to keep the rusty Mississippi dust from swelling with each step and drifting back upon his shiny black shoes and the cuffs of his corduroy pants by lifting each foot high before setting it gently down again. Always meticulously neat, 6-year-old Little Man never allowed dirt or tears or stains to mar anything he owned. Today was no exception. This gives us a great sense of Little Man's personality, and it's integrated so well into the scene. As the scene moves forward, Cassie reprimands Little Man for walking too slowly, and then we get a description of her brother Stacy, who tells her to leave Little Man alone. Stacy cut me a wicked look, and I grew silent. His disposition had been irritatingly sour lately. If I hadn't known the cause of it, I could have forgotten very easily that he was, at 12, bigger than I, and that I had promised Mama to arrive at school looking clean and ladylike. Now I have a pretty good sense of Stacy and what his personality is like, and her other brother, Christopher John, reacts to this mild bickering between these two characters, and the way that he reacts gives us a sense of his personality. Christopher John, walking between Stacy and me, glanced uneasily at both of us, but did not interfere. A short, round boy of 7, he took little interest in troublesome things, preferring to remain on good terms with everyone. Yet he was always sensitive to others, and now, shifting the handle of his lunch can from his right hand to his right wrist, and his smudged notebook from his left hand to his left armpit, he stuffed his free hands into his pockets and attempted to make his face as moody as Stacy's and as cranky as mine. But after a few moments he seemed to forget that he was supposed to be grouchy and began whistling cheerfully. This deceptively simple setup does a brilliant job of introducing all of the characters while still sticking to the focus of the scene, which is Cassie's desire to get to school on time. Connecting character descriptions to what's going on in the scene is a great way to keep the reader engaged while still feeding them information that you need them to know. With a little creativity, this technique can be applied to pretty much any scene in any story. You just have to find the right angle to go at the descriptions so that it feels well integrated into the scene. So I hope that this gave you some ideas for how you can work that into your own novel. I will be back on Monday with a video about how to use foreshadowing to create momentum in your novel. I will be uploading new videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday throughout August, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. I will also be hosting a free first page critique on my blog, so if you're interested in participating in that, the link is in the description. Happy writing, guys!